Welcome back. I've got a treat today. We have Olivia Guettler, who is one of our past watermelon queens here in Washington County. Panhandle Watermelon Festival being one of the more prolific and high-profile special events in this area. Obviously, economically, watermelon, along with the rest of agriculture, being a very large part of our economy, part of that economic engine that drives the county and drives this whole part of Northwest Florida. We're going to be talking to Olivia about her upcoming quest for Florida Watermelon Queen. The state of Florida is looking for a spokesperson for the watermelon industry, and that decision will be made based on the outcome of the upcoming Florida Watermelon Pageant. Olivia, past watermelon queen, as I say, but also a participant in several other local pageants. So we're going to have some fun talking to Olivia about pageants in general, talking a little bit about the watermelon industry perhaps, and also about this upcoming Florida Watermelon Pageant. You're watching Real Florida Magazine, and if you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, or maybe there's something you'd like to see featured, just give us a call, drop us an email, or visit our website at realfloridamagazine.org. We'll be right back with more from Real Florida Magazine.
Welcome to the people, events, and business of the Real Florida. Real Florida Magazine highlights the pristine, unspoiled Florida, from special events to businesses to just getting away from it all. Real Florida Magazine offers a taste of the real Florida, the way it's supposed to be. Now available free of charge almost everywhere. So take a deep breath, relax, and get back to what's important. Check us out at realfloridamagazine.org. We'll be waiting for you.
Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Olivia Guettler. Olivia here to talk about pageants, to talk about the watermelon industry. Many of our viewers will know Olivia. Olivia has been in several of the local pageants, has been very successful in those. Thanks for taking the time to stop in and share with us, Olivia, what's going on in your life. First of all, this is exciting. One of our own, one of our local young people who has done quite well scholastically in school and then also in that pageant industry, going on to the state competition. How cool is that? Florida Watermelon Pageant. Tell me a little bit about your past. I know that you've been in multiple pageants and you've been pretty successful in those. How did you get interested in participating and competing in pageants?
Well, I've always wanted to do pageants, and I never did them as when I was young or anything. And then the Miss Chipley pageant came up, and I was like, Mom, I really want to do this. Seems exciting, I love getting dressed up and everything. So I entered my very first pageant as the Miss Chipley pageant.
Now, Miss Chipley, that is just what it says. You would represent the city of Chipley. Mm-hmm. Who actually puts on that event? Is it the city?
They actually have someone in the city, a former pageant lady or something. She directs it and gets it all organized.
And when was that?
It was last year, I think, around February, March, somewhere in there.
Okay, so that was your very first pageant?
Yes, it was.
And how did you do in that pageant?
I didn't place whatsoever at all, but there was definitely a learning experience, and I'm glad I wasn't, because there's no way I was ready to go to Peanut, which is a huge deal. So I'm actually really thankful I didn't place. So. Okay,
so the Miss Peanut considers the Miss Chipley a qualifier in order to be able to participate. Right. So you got skunked. First pageant, nothing. Yeah. Now, in many cases, people would, kind of get disheartened and maybe lose interest and say, maybe that's not for me. That's not what you did. Right. What was the next one?
It was Teen Miss Watermelon, and I actually ended up winning that one, which was I was very thankful I could be in that one. So.
Teen Watermelon, part of the Panhandle Watermelon Festival. Mm-hmm. So now is teen the one before the Miss Watermelon?
Yes.
Okay, so it's basically the second tier, and I would imagine that if you win the teen, people are kind of looking at you to participate, if not win, the next step up, which is Miss Watermelon. Mm-hmm. Panhandle Watermelon Festival this year coming up in its 57th year, so it's a huge heritage. And watermelon industry being very large in this community, being a very large part of that economic engine. So you won the teen. You celebrated for a while, and I know you had to represent and you had to participate in, my goodness, how many parades and events do we have around here where you're wearing the crown?
Lots.
Next thing was Miss Watermelon. Talk a little bit about how that whole thing went.
Well, I actually wasn't going to participate, and then my mom's like, no, Olivia, you need to. I was like, well, I don't know. And then I'm so thankful that I did, because now it's led me here to be going to Miss Florida Watermelon.
So you won Miss Panhandle Watermelon.
Yes.
Now, how many competitors were in that category when you competed?
I think there was 6 of us, maybe, or 5, somewhere in that area.
And it seems like the higher up you get, the older the age group or class, the fewer participants there are. I know that a couple of years ago, the Miss Watermelon, I think, only had 2 participants at that level. And I guess a lot of that is because, and let's just get down to it. There is the element within that industry of the pageant moms. And obviously the little babies that have to be carried, and even on up to the point where they're making their own decisions, moms sometimes drive that train. That's not your case, though.
No, not at all, really. I'm just kind of try to do this on my own, but also have my mom's advice in it because she is a former pageant lady herself, so she really enjoys that I'm doing this now also.
Yeah, you know, lots of TV shows that talk about this stuff, you know, the toddlers and tiaras and all of the behind the scenes, really ugly stuff that goes on. We don't see as much of that on a local level, and I think a lot of that is over emphasized for the sake of the TV show. But what we do, and our company obviously represents some of these festivals and events and pageants even, and we always do photo and video. And we actually like to get some of that candid behind the scenes, the stuff that nobody else sees. You know, they see you when you're nice and cool and calm and collected and walking on stage, and you know, but they don't see you when you're getting ready, and they don't see you when you may be fussing with your mom. Now, I'm not talking about you necessarily in particular, but we catch some pretty interesting stuff. The girl that doesn't want to have her hair sprayed, or the girl that at the last minute, 7 or 8 year old girl, decides she doesn't want any part of this, and in the meantime, her mom's got sometimes thousands of dollars tied up in this thing. Now, you obviously for a year as team and then another year as Miss Watermelon, you represented Washington County. We saw you a lot. You were by default in our magazine a lot, in our print magazine and also online. We just recently did a photo retrospective of the last several years of pageants, and you can see those online. But again, looking at those, you, Ashley Easterling, several others just pop out as people who are in a lot of these things. Now, in some of these cases, people that didn't even really win big crowns, but they're very prolific and they're very photogenic. So we were fortunate, it was our win, that we were able to get lots of good shots of you. All right, fast forward to today. The Florida watermelon industry is looking for a spokesperson, and they determine that through the Florida Watermelon Pageant. Now, that's in Orlando. Talk a little bit about that. When does it happen, and how does that all work?
It's the end of March, and it's pretty much a weekend thing, you know, and right now we haven't heard, you know, all the events that will be going on, but I'm pretty sure it's a part of their convention, so there'll be lots of, you know, dinners and meet and greet things and just getting to know one of each other. And then, you know, as the weekend's going on, interviews and speeches being done just to come up with who the Watermelon Queen will be.
So you have a regular pageant procedure. You have interviews, and then you've got the various wardrobe changes, and you're going out on stage, and the panel of judges. And just like any small-town watermelon festival or pageant of any kind, it takes that same basic scenario. Only in this case, there's actually cash prizes, and I would think, more importantly, at least for a young person such as yourself, the opportunity to travel. So you would actually be traveling within the entire state and possibly outside the state, I would imagine.
I believe so.
Have they prepared you a little bit for what that would entail?
Not really, but I've been like looking on their website at their current Miss Florida Watermelon, and it said that she would be traveling in, you know, in the United States, but also in Canada even, and just like promoting, you know, the watermelon industry. So.
Wow. Well, I know that your mom works in your dad's company and actually is a very large part of that. But I see her as being with you when you're traveling. So is your dad prepared for this leave of absence?
Probably not, but I think he'll have to be, so we'll see. Interesting.
Now, you said when we met that earlier that you said they actually give prizes to the top several finishers. So at the very least, you've got a pretty good opportunity, I would imagine, especially since there's how many competing?
There's only 5 of us competing, so
wow,
it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, now where are some of these other girls from? Do you know?
I'm not really sure. I don't really even know their names. I know there is one girl from Cottontail who's in it, so.
Really? Isn't that interesting that two?
Is.
Well, but again, it makes total sense. You know, around Alachua County, Gainesville, in that area, large watermelon producing area. Certainly up here in the Panhandle, same thing. In these several counties, Jackson County, which is where Cottondale is, and we find ourselves here in Washington County. So that makes sense. They don't grow watermelons in Miami,
Right.
in the Keys. So I would guess that that's where most of them would come from. And then Orlando, we consider Orlando sometimes South Florida, but it's really not.
Right.
It's only halfway down the state, Florida being a very long state. Well, you've got to be excited.
Oh, yes. I'm very excited. Nervous, but yeah, excited. So.
Well, how long have you known that you were accepted as a participant, as a competitor in the pageant, and how long have you been, on pins and needles, knowing that you had a very finite amount of time before you were going to be going?
Well, January 15th was the deadline for the application, and then probably about last week I found out that I was going to be participating in it.
So, you just found out.
Right.
So I don't know that you've really had enough time to have it sink in completely yet.
I don't think I have, even though I'm like, okay, we got to get things done. We don't have too long to do all this, so we got to get it done now. So
we met with you and your mom to talk about this, and I'm going on a limb here, but I think she's as excited as you are.
Oh yes, I think she's the one pushing me. Giving me the confidence when I'm like, I'm not too sure about this, but she's definitely excited also.
I know your dad a little bit. He's a man of few words. What's his take on all of this?
He's like, oh, you're just spending my money, but he knows it makes me happy, and I really enjoyed it in pageant. So he's always, oh yeah, that dress looks good, or I don't like that really. So I always ask him and my brother for their opinions on things.
What about the rest of your friends within the pageant industry here locally? I know that many times, and I'm going on a limb here because I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess that in that competitive atmosphere of these pageants, at least the several that you've done locally, you end up making friends of people that maybe you didn't know or didn't know that well. Is that, first of all, is that true?
Yes, definitely, because when I was team miss, of course, the miss and I were close. We talk to each other every once in a while. We have each other on Facebook. If we see each other around, we wave. And also the other competitors in this area, you get to know the pageant people, so you see them at all the events, of course. So it's a very opportunity to become new friends with people.
Now, let me back up. When you were teen, who was the Miss Watermelon?
Erica Smith was.
Okay.
And she's from Sneeds, I believe.
Okay. And who is the current reigning Miss Panhandle Watermelon?
I'm actually still in the Miss Watermelon or whatever. And
okay.
My reign will end in June.
Yeah, and I should know that, of course, because you were just crowned
Right.
in June.
Right.
So, are you doing traveling now? Is this time of year kind of slow for pageants and for representation, or are you still doing?
It's kind of slow right now because now's the time where they're fixing to start kicking back up, for all the local pageants. So it's just kind of died down right now. But
so going back to that fact that you do make alliances and make friends, and have you been able to share with some of your friends within the pageant industry who have really experienced the same nervousness that you have, whether they've won or not, in those competitions? Have you been able to share that with some of them?
Definitely. My best friend, actually, she's competing in a pageant this weekend, so she's like, I'm the one who's giving her all the confidence, you can do this, you got this, So, we really, feed off of each other and going into the pageants, and we both enjoy them so much. So we're always talking about pageants, we're going on to try dresses, so it's also lots of fun for us, so.
In the past, having worked with pageants and having been a judge myself and also participated in the televised pageants, I've worked with former Miss Floridas. And I always thought that, it was going to be real catty and real competitive. But I found out through that experience that these girls end up truly, in some cases, being lifelong friends. It's really a solidifying experience. I mean, you go through this torture together, and at the end of it, you're really stronger as a person, and you have these long-term friendships. So do you anticipate that's going to be the case?
I think so, because when you're there, you pretty much only have the other contestants, so they know how you're feeling, you know how they're feeling, so it's really a bond that you all have, because you're like, okay, I know I'm nervous right now, but we can do this, just get through this and we'll be fine. So.
You're currently in school. You graduated from Chipley High School, and you're in Chipola.
Yes.
What are you doing in school?
Well, I'm majoring in business, so of course all the business classes I'm taking, and then hopefully go to FSU, get my bachelor degree in business, and then see where life takes me after that.
So this is your first year at Chipola. You'll have another year.
Yes.
Is that correct? And then on to FSU. In this climate that we find ourselves, it's a pretty tough job market. I think you're smart, staying, if not vague, relatively broad from a business point of view. And again, take advantage, and certainly I know your parents are telling you this, but the opportunities for networking, regardless of how this competition plays out in Orlando, the opportunity for you to trade business cards and to make friends and network with some of these people, huge, and can really hold you in good stead in the future going forward. You find that might be?
I think so. I mean, because business, yes, it's a broad thing, but, you know, everybody's got some kind of business, you know, so any kind of situation, even like going down there, the farmers, I mean, they got a business, you know, the pageant, it's a business, you know, so I think it's really going to open up opportunities for me in the future.
Well, exciting stuff to say the least. Wow, and as you point out, it's only been a week or so or less, and so where do you go from here? What's your first? What's your top 3 things you got to get done before you're ready for the competition?
Well, actually today we're going to pick out the gown, you know, see which one I need to wear, and then definitely the coaching, you know, just keep going for practice and everything, and hair and makeup lessons, you know. You don't think about that, you know, traveling down there, you know, and you normally have somebody around here who can do it, but now you're like, okay, I'm on my own now, so I have to do this, so coaching.
Wow, will that be the case? Will you do your own, or do you think you might find somebody that help you out?
No, I'll end up doing my own hair and makeup, so hopefully I can do that, so.
Now, you know, and let's talk about that aspect of it. I know that in most competitions, most pageants, you have the multiple wardrobe changes, and I saw that your list included some casual wear and then a gown. Would your makeup vary according to the outfit you're wearing?
Probably so. I'm not really sure when. I believe like the interview and the speech is all like one after the other. But definitely for a gown, you know, the hair down, you know, the interview, maybe your hair up, you know, maybe a little more stage makeup. So it all depends on when and what time everything is.
A lot to it.
Yes.
A lot to it. Well, you're fortunate. Your mom, as you point out, involved in the past in the pageant industry, and a very nice lady. And obviously, you have what appears to be a very tight-knit family. Your brother's in the Coast Guard. What kind of response are you getting from your siblings? I know that you guys have got to be excited together.
Oh, yes, they all are. I'm like sending them pictures, you know, what dress looks good, you know, what do you think about this, you know, and they're always giving me pointers, you know, they're always there for me and encouraging me also. So.
We live in a very close-knit, very small-town environment in this community we find ourselves, and everybody acts as if they're related, and most of them are. So I would imagine as this word gets out that you're going to be getting all kinds of response locally. Have you talked to any of the people who ran the pageants in which you participated in the past yet?
Yes, I have. I've emailed Miss Teresa and then Miss Laura Fisher and Judge Colby Peel, since they're in charge of it, and they're all very excited for me. So it's good to know people around here, you know, encouraging me and excited for me. Yeah.
Wow. You know, this is pretty amazing. Small town of Chipley, and we have the opportunity for somebody to come from here to represent the entire industry in the state. And I guess, you know, there is no last-minute preparation. I mean, it's kind of like if you don't have all of the right stuff at this point, you're probably not going to fake it in the next 2 months. Well, the best of luck to you. It's a pleasure talking to you. Been able to work with you in the past a little bit at some of these pageants. What I would like to do is extend the opportunity for you to come. Now, obviously, you're going to be at this upcoming Watermelon Festival. It happens at the end of June. To pass on the crown at the pageant, and then obviously to join us on stage. But I want to make sure that we don't miss the opportunity to let the world know, regardless of how it turns out, the fact that we should be proud to have somebody participate on this level. That's pretty strong stuff. Again, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
And give your parents our best.
Okay, thank you.
You're watching Real Florida Magazine, here today with Olivia Guettler, currently the reigning Miss Panhandle Watermelon. And getting ready to go to the state competition to represent the entire watermelon industry for the state of Florida. Pretty interesting, pretty strong stuff. Take the opportunity, if you know the Guettlers, to give them a call. Wish them well. If you have any words of wisdom or words of encouragement, certainly share those with them. You're watching Real Florida Magazine, and we'll be right back.